What's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists, and welcome to another mini Warzone tutorial. Now this is, as I'm sure you've realized by now, I won't lie to you, it's a long ass tutorial. It really is. And I don't know, I went, it's a little bit further than I usually go in terms of detail. But there is actually another tutorial within this one, and that is the application of transfers, and I'll put the information in the video description below as to what point you can go to the video, just if you just want to see that aspect of it. As you can see here, I've got my model, my Primaris Apothecary on the left, and he's alongside a Sanguinary Priest on the right. There. Sanguinary Priests are the apothecaries of the Blood Angels. This model is primed in Grey Seer, and as you just saw, I took some Ushabti Bone and Lemea Medium, and I went to town on the Space Marine Armor. You know what I mean. Now, normally I like to work from the inside out, i.e. like the skin, so like probably would have done like the face, but as the armor is kind of like on mostly Space Marines anyway, the largest surface area, I decided to go with that to show a progress quicker. I don't know, I like to see progress quickly when I'm doing things. It depends on my mood, I guess, but anyway, this took a couple of different coats. I think it took 3 coats in the end. So I just applied that evenly, and obviously I was being reasonably careful, but I wasn't sweating it, you know, if I went over certain areas, because you know it's just our first base coat color, right? So we'll be doing plenty of cleanup, and there'll be plenty of cleanup opportunities later. So that is what I did first. So as you can see, I didn't really edit much out of my whole process. You're actually seeing it all. It's sped up, yes, but you are actually seeing pretty much the whole process here. So that's just probably why the video is as long as it is, and I do wonder which is the best way to do these videos. Thought I'd give it a go this way, show most of what I'm doing. Some people I could just cut to the end of putting the base coat on, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see. You can see mistakes I make as well along the way. I think that's kind of nice in a tutorial. And once we put this on, and like I say, 3 coats I believe, and it came out really lovely. It came out like beautifully smooth and exactly how I wanted. Like so. There we go, all dry, raring to go. Next we're going to pay attention to the dead fallen Space Marine on the ground with some contrast Blood Angels Red. I wanted to get him done as early as possible as well, or at least, you know, the base colour down. Plus I wanted to see what the Blood Angels Red came out like, given that it's going to be there's a Blood Angel theme for this particular model. It's kind of good to use Blood Angels Red, and just to see how it, you know, it goes over the Grey Seer. I think in future, if I was going to do like an army of them or something, not that I'm planning on doing that because I've already got my Blood Angels, as you know, hence the reason for this series, but I would probably, if I was to start again, I would go with a white primer. Right, Blood Angels Red with heavily thinned down with the contrast medium here now, and I'm applying this to his robes. Obviously I want him to have you know, the colour being kind of thematic on his person, given that he's got a lot of bone colour there. But we'll get to that, you know, as and when. I felt this was a good opportunity to use this Blood Angels Red. I believe it was actually the first time I've used it, so it was nice to see how it went on, and I wasn't overly worried about how it would come out as long as I had a red. There we go. So we got those reds down, which is excellent. On with the next step, which was the flesh, and I went with Guilliman flesh because I know that this comes out rather well on Grey Seer. So I just applied that on his head, which is literally the only flesh on this model. But once it's on there, I mean, it really does, it makes it, you know, it transforms the model, I think, once the head, and whenever heads, faces or bases are done, I think it transforms the model. And early on it's like, yeah, I'm making good progress on my model now, rather than, oh, because if you did it, you know, in a certain way, it would seem like take forever. But it's nice to see progress, you know, early on. Right, contrast paint Black Templar is next, and I'm using that for the rocks that you get for the surface that this Dead Space Marine is laying upon on the ground, or on the actual base of the model itself. And I know this gives a kind of a cool kind of rocky type effect, so that's what I used. I thoroughly believe the contrast paints have great value. Also, as you can see, they're putting it on the gun, and I believe that it's good to have like a kind of a mixture between contrast paints and normal paints, using both. Right, Grey Knight Steel. Now this is, it's kind of not as metallic looking as say a Lead Belcher or Runefang Steel or that kind of thing. I believe it used to be a Forge World paint till it came out on GW, but I just want to have a couple of items, that thing he's carrying, and perhaps his backpack as well, you know, just a couple of areas, and those Ujima flip things on his top of his backpack there, his apothecary tools. I just want him to have a couple of areas of this Grey Knight Steel on, because it's a beautiful colour, it really is, and I think it would make a great colour for gun casings particular. I know this was the first time I used it. I was just super curious. I'd seen it on videos before, but I just wanted to use it myself. So I thought, wow, what better than to put it on my apothecary. So yeah. I do recommend, though, if you're going to use this combination of this kind of steel and other metallics as well, give it a good blend to show definition. Right. Okay. Just showing you what I've got there. As is, you see I've done a couple of bits of it. So this is what I'm talking about. Now we're coming in with Lead Belcher and doing the other metallic areas. So they'll run alongside the Grey Knight Steel, and it will give it a very nice nice look. I think it looks good to have the two side by side like this. For me, it works well. To my eye, it is pleasing. To yours, it may not be. I don't know, but to my eye, it is very pleasing to see different metallics together, whether they be silvers or golds, or a combination of the two. You know, golds, silvers, bronzes, coppers. I like to see different metallics together, rather than just one. That looks dull. Yeah, and I just don't like that look. So I always like to do at least two different ones, if I can, before highlighting, of course. So I'm just going over all the extra bits and bobs that were left, and I didn't put the grey knight steel on. And as I say, I think, you know, it looks really good. He's already looking pretty darn good, if you ask me. So white grey is a colour by Vallejo, which I really enjoy. And what I was doing with this is I was just edge highlighting certain key areas of his, like where I wanted the leather to go, because I'm going to come in with a contrast paint, and I just highlight edges on leather. It gives it, doesn't make it so uniform, makes it seem more, to me, more natural. So just different areas of where I'm going to have leather. So obviously I'm going to go over these areas with a different color paint. I mean, I would have done, before the days of contrast, I probably would have gone over these areas with Agrax Earthshade, but Snake Bite Leather is the color I'm using, and I do like this paint. Snake Bite Leather is an awesome color, and it's brilliant for doing leather, this type of thing. Saddlebags, belts, anything like that. So where I edge highlighted with white grey, I didn't want to go white because I felt that would be too extreme, but you get a really nice highlight on there now. I mean, you get the highlights anyway, but I just wanted to accentuate it a bit more. Right, Screamer Pink is next, and these are typical of what I like to use for, you know, different purity seal waxes. The waxes on the wax seal on the purity seals themselves. I used a variety of different ones. I mean, I like reds, pinks and greens primarily. I have used blues in the past, but you know, as a combination. And you know, I don't know what they, you know, in your world they can mean whatever they like. You know, in my world, different colours mean different things. So I went with Warpstone Glow as the colour for the other wax, which is quite nice. It's quite eye-catching. I like a nice bright colour for this. Now, Arctic White is the colour I'm going to be using next by Vallejo, and whether it's game color, you know, gaming, you know, there's a whole different range of companies, but Vallejo being the main one, and he's got like a skull trophy thing on his belt here. So this is what I was using this color for. Obviously I shall come in later on and adjust that. So Rakar Flesh is next, and this is what I like to use for the parchments, paper, that kind of thing. So for the purity seals, the paper or the parchment of the purity seals, in my world they would be cloth, so somewhere between paper and cloth, I guess, because I don't think paper would hold up very well all along on a battlefield. Balthasar Gold is next, and I'm painting that eagle on the chest plates, or not the chest plate, sorry, an eagle on the floor. from a bit of rubble, fallen rubble, or something of that nature. That's what we're doing here. So I momentarily got confused there. You're gonna have to forgive me on things like this. It's not his chest plate, is it? Come on now, Pete. Right, Retributive Armor, which is a brighter gold. Just a little couple of tiny areas, really. He's got a little kind of a skull emblem thing going on, badge thing, crest, whatever you call it, just at the front of his where his face is on the armor there, and of course the little emblem on his leg there, as you can see, which is quite common. You see it on a lot of character models as well, a lot of things like that. It's really nice, really it really shows off the detail of the model, and it draws the eye. I think detail of this nature draws the eye, so it's important, I think, to have them quite eye-catching, either bright colours or metallic colours, you know, or combination of both. Just very small areas. It's like, wow, yeah, it gives depth to a model. So obviously I'm just using it to highlight the eagle on the ground, or the part of the eagle on the ground. Alright, so Screaming Skull. Now this is as part of where I'm going to use, it's going to be kind of not exactly blending as such, but kind of a cross between spot highlighting and blending as well. It's obviously mixing with Lemay medium. So I'll start off with the zenithal kind of look to it, where the light is going to be catching the tops of it's mostly the tops of his backpack, the bone color, and his shoulder pads. So what I'm doing, I'm just going in lighter at the top, and I'm going to use several different colors to achieve this. Although you won't actually see a lot of them in the finished result, it does fool the eye, especially from a distance, which is kind of why I do it. So Screaming Skull was the first one that I went for. So like I say, both shoulder pads, just like top down. And you know, I'm not great at that kind of thing, but it's something I enjoy, and I like to practice as much as I can. Right, so Pallid Witch Flesh is the next one with Lemay medium. So again, I'm following the same sort of, doing the same sort of step. I'm just not doing as much as before, so it's getting slightly less but brighter. I didn't want to go with a wet blend on these areas. I suppose I could have done if I thought, you know, but that would sort of thing just takes me forever, and I thought I want to get the video made as well. So, but you know, feel free to do 2-brush wet blend, you know, if that's, you know, your bag and that's what you want to do on it. Absolutely. So edge highlighting as well here. So basically highlighting the armor is what I'm going for. All areas, the little round bits, the bits over his feet, the sides. Okay, now I took a sort of break from that. Mephiston Red with the Lemay medium, and I just did the outside of of you know, the edges of the shoulder pad. And at this stage I didn't really know where I was going with the shoulder pads exactly, as you will see. And I used it to do a bit of a highlighting on the Space Marines on the ground there, and it amazed me how closely Blood Angels Red is to Mephiston Red. It's quite good actually. Caribou Crimson, and I'm just putting that inside the folds of the cloth. Anyway, there's a deep and dark recess. I'm using red, so I just, you know, I want red to be, even if it's not loads, I want it to be strong, if that makes sense. A strong red, a strong colour that really shines through or really leaps out at you. Yes, it's like, I don't, even if someone doesn't know anything about it at all, you know, you wouldn't know a Blood Angel from a Crimson Fist, but the message being, yes, this guy has a strong element of red on him. So as you can see, I started off doing the outside of his right hand shoulder pad too, but I did change my mind on that, as you'll see later on. I was just mopping up some spillage where I went over. So if you do that, dry brush, quickly go over your area if it's not wet already, or wet it first, and then dry brush will soak it up. Any accidents. Corvus Black is another pretty cool colour that I enjoy. It's kind of like an off black. Well, it is an off black. It's not kind of anything about it. It's an off black. It's a very dark grey black, or black grey, I should say. That's the better way around, isn't it? Black grey. You could use it as like a grey liner, I suppose, if you wanted. So you paint something with it. And I'm doing the eagle on his chest plate, and yes, I am doing the eagle on the chest plate this time. And there we go. This is the point where I decided to use astrogranite debris to do the rest of the base. There comes a time on a model when I think, oh, let's just get the base a bit more done, because it's starting to feel like I'm not getting anywhere. So the best way to do that is, you know, do the base or something like that you would normally do at the end. And as you can see, I'm using my texture tool there. Yeah, Seraphim Sepia. That's what I'm putting on the bone trophy skull thing that's hanging off of his belt. Seraphim Sepia. I don't know. It's like some kind of weird alien thing going on there. I don't know. Okay, time for the null oil that goes over, and you've got to make sure that your texture paint is thoroughly dry when you do this. If you're impatient, like I have been in the past, not this time, but, and you put that over your texture, it just turns into a mush. And as you can see, I'm putting it on the dead Space Marine as well, because, you know, he's on the ground. He's had his day. He's dirty, grimy, and yeah. So it looks really messy at this stage on the base, but you know, it comes together quite quickly. Now, Longbeard Grey, as people of my channel know, is probably my favourite dry paint ever. So I typically do this on bases and lots of other areas as well. So I get that on there, and that will be a nice finish to the texture of the base. I particularly like doing it on like stone effect and that kind of thing as well, which this has. It's got like little rocks around him as well, so that's kind of cool. Now we need to finish this off as well, because we've got the rim of the base to do. Just show you that there. Steel Legion drab, which I typically do on the majority of my base rims. And yeah, there you go, all done and dry. Agrax Earthshade. So I didn't need to show you that, did I? Agrax Earthshade going in the recesses around and on top, not completely covering them, but the edge of the shoulder pad. And did a couple more recesses, particularly on the bone areas, just to bring them out. Now for cleanup on this, I'll tell you now, I'll let you into my little secret. When I'm doing new shabty bone and I'd like to do cleanup after, you know, if I make mistakes, I use shabty bone airbrush version because it's nice and thin. I can just do multiple coats if I need to. So back to null oil, and time for null oiling the metallic areas. I'm pretty pleased with the way it's turning out at this stage. I'm liking the way it's coming together. It's gradually coming together. It's gradually getting more depth and becoming much more pleasing to the eye. And every time I look at it, I'm like, yes, we're doing good here. We are doing good. And I've had this guy on my shelf of shame for quite some time. I just thought, do you know what? It's time. I busted him up. I think I picked him up a couple of birthdays ago, you know. It's time I broke him out, and he is actually going to be heading up my new Apothecary series. More on that in another video. So there we go, folks. Red Tone by Army Painter. It's a nice, really nice ink. I'm just going over certain edges of the robes with this. It's got a different finish to Caribou Crimson. It's got a like a truer red finish. So I did this on certain areas, just a few. Base coat Mephiston red. Now, as you can see, I decided to do his right hand shoulder pad completely in this colour. I was humming and hawing about it. I thought, no, it needs more red. It was all bone. It just, I don't know, it just wasn't red enough for me. You know, I can't explain it. As memory serves, I did go over a couple of areas I shouldn't have. Which is typical of me. But like I say, I covered up my mistakes with the Shabty Bone airbrush paint, which is nicely thin. But I was much happier once I had established that his right shoulder pad was going to be all red. Much happier. Right, back to Retributive Armor, and now for the kind of emblem on his shoulder pad. That's where with that. Yes, I know I went over when I was doing this, but I did clean it up later, which is what you can do. So this video was shot over several days, you see, and it's just where I can grab time to do, you know, a bit of painting as and when. And I think this was one of my more shaky days, if memory serves. It was that, which is why it's good to be able to clean up at a later time. Right. So I'm indicating his left shoulder pad. Now, this is the point where I will instruct you to come in if you just want to see how I apply a decal. I'm starting with an hard coat on the surface where I want the decal to go. I'm going to be cutting out one of these, the little black ones. You want a nice shiny surface where you're going to put the decal on first. So first thing you need to do is apply like a gloss varnish, in this case hard coat. That will make the surface really shiny and slippery and much easier to maneuver a decal around on. So you gotta wait for it to dry. Right, now when you're cutting out a transfer or a decal like this, always try to cut as close to the design as you possibly can, because you don't want too much. You want enough to be able to grab. You want enough of the excess around the side to be able to grab with a fine pair of tweezers, but not so much as to make it more difficult to stick down onto the area you want to apply it. Now, obviously, the greater area, the more work you've got to do. Basically, put it on a piece of paper towel. Get an old brush and damp it around the decal, so that the decal soaks. You can go over the decal, it doesn't matter, but let the decal soak up that water to the point where the transfer starts to slide around on the top, and it really doesn't take long at all. And pop a little bit of water on the area on top of your dried varnish. See, it's moving there. Alright, my trusty tweezers. Pick up the decal, place over the area and gradually move it onto the shoulder pad, and once it's on, quickly move it around to where you want it, because the longer you leave it, the harder it will be to move. So just tease it around till it's in a position you want. But like I say, don't take too long over this particular bit. I mean, if it comes to it, you ruin the decal, start again. You can always do that. So you think, right, this is more or less in the position I want it. Once you've done that, you need to quickly dry it and press it to the surface. Piece of damp towel, tissue, whatever. Apply quite a bit of pressure over the surface and dab it down. And that will give you a good flat surface then. But of course, it still looks shiny at this stage. So we'll dull it down and seal it all in one with some Lamium Medium. But of course, you can use whatever sealant you want. There we go, Lamium Medium. So just brush that gently over it. Like I said, that will take away all the shine, and it will seal it onto the shoulder pad as well. So there you go. There's a transfer tutorial for you. Right, now that's done, we're coming back in with some lead belcher. And using where there's Space Marine on the floor, I'm just doing his the rim of his shoulder pad there. He's gonna have silver rims, and also I go in where his shoulder pad was blasted with some kind of weapon, just I don't know, give it like a metallic-y look inside. I don't know what they're actually made of, the armor. I know what it's called, but I don't know what. I'm not familiar with what the substance is. So I thought I'd just have a shiny surface below, which I will dull down later. So there we go. Really coming together now. Models like this are a real pleasure to work on. I would say, even on a tutorial. It's just weird angles I've got to position the model in to try and keep it on the camera screen. I'm finding it incredibly... I find that's probably the most difficult thing about filming for me, is painting and keeping it on screen at a pleasing angle. Yeah. But like I say, really coming together. What's our strategy in this stage done? Coming back with the Corvus Black. I do like Corvus Black. It's a great colour. So you paint Corvus Black. I was going to say this earlier, and it's an obvious black. It's obviously black. I'm just doing the rims there of this, but I don't want it to be too black, too cartoonish. So, and it's an obvious black, but it's not black, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes you put like a jet black, pure black colour down for something. It looks, can make it a little bit, I don't know, sometimes a bit goofy looking, sometimes perhaps. Maybe it's just me. It's all got its place anyway, put it that way. Things like eyes, it's okay. Seraphim Sepia once more. And I'm putting that over the gold on the armour. Where I put all the Retributive Gold, Seraphim Sepia wash over the top of that. That's what we're doing. Obviously mopping up a little bit of excess there. Alright. Null oil yet again. And of course we're going back to the Space Marine that's left this world. So applying that on all the lead-belchered areas to make that look suitably metal looking. Right, Wraithbone is next. Okay. Just a few more highlights to go. Just on certain key areas, and really not much area at all now. Just very fine edges. Every little highlight lends itself to the other highlight that went before it, the previous highlight. So if you layer highlights up, you know, in the correct way, it really does have a huge impact on the model. And you know, first glance you will not see it. Pallid Witch Flesh, again. Key highlights, but even smaller areas. Yeah, the eye will not see it. It will see that there's something there leaping out at him, but you know, it won't see the individual, the actual individual colours. But all together, it's kind of a, I don't know. Okay, because it works because it's small, I guess. If it was a larger model, you'd have to do so many more highlights to get away with it. You know, really would. It's kind of, sometimes I think it's like a cheating blend, really, but it's just the way it's done. Because it's small and because you're looking at it, you know, a couple feet away, it makes a huge difference. And, you know, unless you really scrutinise, you won't never know. White Scar, and I'm guessing for the final highlight, just the very smallest areas now. This is what I like about doing a model like this. When you get to this stage, and I'm sorry I went off camera there a little bit. Not bad, I've done not bad up to now. But you need such a small amount of paint for highlights. Such a small amount. Which is why when you get to a highlighting stage and on its own, it just seems to take forever. And nope, does not let you done any progress. Okay, Signal Blue by P3. I love this colour. Obviously I'll have it for my signal. This is for like cables that are, you know, out and about on his person. It makes for a great cable colour. You can use greens, blues, reds, yellows, whatever colours suit you, take your fancy. Combinations. I just went with simple or blue. This guy, you know, all his equipment was made, you know, by maybe the same manufacturer, whatever, who knows, I don't know. He's really proud of his gear. Incubi Darkness is next. And there's this little, I don't know what it is actually, on his belt. More equipment. I don't know what half of his equipment is or does, except spiky things look painful. I don't know whether it's weapons or apothecariness. Apothecariness. It's my new word of the day. Right. There we go. Right. Abaddon Black now. And as I say, I kind of use this sort of sparingly as much as I can now. Very small key areas, like the handle of a gun, which is what we're painting here. The handle of the gun that's in that leather holster thing. Right, Evil Sun Scarlet airbrush version, because it's nice and thin, to do some edge highlighting on red areas. Evil Sun Scarlet. Now I will say here and now, because we're nearly at the end, I could have gone way further than this, and I probably will revisit at some point in the future. But for now, this is where I'm going with it, and I'm happy with it to be at this stage. I am sorry, like I said at the beginning, it's been a long ass video, hasn't it? I am so sorry, but you have seen me do this, and pretty much everything I've done has been captured on film. I obviously didn't bother filming painting the rim of the base. Skinwash game ink for other leather areas, just to give it a little bit more depth. Yeah, some things you just don't need to see. Priming, sometimes it's, you know, depends what the model is, where it's being primed, how it's being primed. I'm rambling on here now. You can see what I'm doing here. It's all good. It's all going good. And there we go. Haha. I'm very chuffed with this guy. And there he is. All I did was seal him with some matte varnish. That's it, guys. One apothecary for my Blood Angels army. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video. Remember, all brushes lead to war. Please like, share, subscribe. Check out my Patreon if you would like. That would be awesome. Links on the home screen. And bye for now, folks. Bye bye.